So I was scrolling through YouTube recently trying to find like new people to watch on, well, YouTube, and I came across a channel of a girl called Jenny Nicholson, and I watched a couple of her videos, and because I watched a couple of them, obviously suggestions for more of her videos were popping up in my recommended. One of the videos that popped up on the recommended was her reading from what I assume was a fan fiction called Trapped on an Island with Josh Hutcherson. And when I saw that, I got thrown back into like my Wattpad days when I used to write my own fanfiction about Josh Hutcherson, and I immediately just went, that's a video. Hey, what's up you guys? Welcome back to my channel. My name is Erin and this is where I talk random crap about whatever the crap I want. Yes, I'm in my pyjamas. If you aren't in your pyjamas during lockdown, you are doing lockdown wrong, okay? And I know, my pyjamas are awesome. You don't need to tell me. And I think we've talked about the disaster that is my hair enough in the last video, so we'll just get past that. I used to write on Wattpad a lot, and the thing that I loved the most about Wattpad over, say, fanfiction.net was that I was able to write about celebrities. A lot of fanfiction websites don't let you write about celebrities. You have to write about a certain fandom, whether it's a book, a movie, a TV show, a game. It has to be something that's fandom related. You don't write about real life people. But Wattpad lets you write about people, and it actually worked for a lot of people who wrote on that website. After was a fanfiction of Harry Styles and One Direction, I assume. And now it is a very popular book series, obviously with the names changed so that it's original characters instead of Harry Styles. So there is a market for these celebrity featuring stories, as long as you switch it around once you actually try and publish it. So I thought I'd be able to break the ground with my incredible contributions to the fanfiction universe, the celebrity fanfiction universe. And boy was I wrong. My Wattpad account was called Hunger Games TMI Addict because I couldn't decide at the time whether I wanted to declare that I loved the Hunger Games or that I loved the Mortal Instruments. And I mainly wrote Josh Hutcherson fanfiction on it. Thank God I didn't call myself like Hutcher Forever or something like that. I did refer to myself as J Hutch Girl Kiss Kiss, but that was like my tag name and not like my username for writing. Thank God. All I really wrote on my Wattpad account was Josh Hutcherson fanfiction, so I had a plethora of ones to choose from when it came to making this video. But I decided that there was one that stood out from the rest. The creme de la crop of my shite fanfiction entries. Like, I really mean it when they were shite. I wrote one called Make a Wish, where a girl is dying of cancer and her wish was to meet Josh Hutcherson, and then Josh Hutcherson falls in love with her. And yeah, I really thought I was being like John Green in that moment. I thought that I was going to be writing the next Fault in Our Stars. Romanticizing illness was just apparently a good idea in my brain. But we must remember, please, when I'm about to read this story, we must remember I wrote this 7 years ago. I was a stupid preteen. I didn't know shit about anything. I was just being an idiot. And I think I've talked about the fact that I was obsessed with Josh Hutcherson in a video before, so you can check that out. I'll maybe link it at the end of the video. But I pretty much have talked about how I pretended to be straight and was obsessed with Josh Hutcherson, and like my every thought was about him because I was trying to convince myself I wasn't gay. So that's how the obsession started, and that's why I was writing these stories in the first place. But I thought it would be funny if I looked back on anyone that was on my Wattpad account and just kind of, let's all just laugh. So the story I chose is called I Kidnapped Josh Hutcherson. And the reason I chose this is for many reasons. One, it's I Kidnapped Josh Hutcherson. It's a story where a bunch of girls kidnap Josh Hutcherson. And two, my protagonist is like the most not like other girls girl that has ever not liked other girls. So it felt like it was just a given to go with this story because the not like other girls trope is pretty popular at the minute, and we're all kind of coming to the realization that we all had that not like other girls phase when we were all just exactly like the other girls. Anyway, I'm just going to read a few sort of captions from maybe the first 2 chapters, because if I read the whole thing, this whole video is going to turn into a whole fucking it's going to be like a whole audiobook, and we don't have time for that, sadly. But I'll read some snippets that stood out to me. The main character is called Paige, and her best friend is called Jenny. Paige wasn't a fangirl. Sure, she read books and watched TV shows, but she didn't have the ability to get so attached to the characters or the plot. She just thought they were either good or bad. Jenny had a little group of fangirls, a band of crazies who freaked the hell out of Paige. That's a weird sentence. They scream and squeal about mortal musical instruments or games of hunger, and every time Paige didn't understand, they'd call her a peasant or a mundane or something. So immediately we know Paige is not like these other idiots who obsess over books and TV shows and stuff. She is different. She is on a different level. She doesn't get obsessed. She are not like other girls for this story. She could vaguely remember her friend gushing about some guy from the Game of Hungry People movie. He had been her newest obsession or something. Added to the top of the pile of various other guys Jenny adored who were famous, who she could never have. Every time these celebrities got a girlfriend, or in one guy's case a boyfriend, it was Paige's job to comfort Jenny, which was a lot more tedious than it sounded. So it goes on to talk about how Josh Hutcherson got a girlfriend called Claudia, something that devastated me at the time, might I add. I ate a lot of cake when that announcement happened, but basically Paige had to comfort Jenny, and then Jenny goes on holiday to a state beginning with K. The reason that I said the state beginning with K, because I wanted to kind of have like some sort of ambiguity with the fact that she went to Kentucky, where Josh Hutcherson lives. Paige had been watching Indiana Jones on BBC Three at the time and had been reluctant to turn over, but her mother insisted, in case something phenomenal had happened, there was a breaking news thing, that they just had to know about, or they'd be out of the social loop, like world peace finally occurring, or poverty no longer being in existence. It wasn't any of these. It was a kidnapping story. What annoyed Paige the most was the fact that this was considered breaking news just because it was a celebrity that had been kidnapped. If a normal person, or mundane as Jenny called them, they weren't divergent like her or whatever, because Paige doesn't get it because she's not like the rest of the girls, if you didn't pick up on that, had been kidnapped, it would have been on a 6 o'clock news like any other normal people's story. But no, since it was a celebrity that had been nabbed, it was breaking news. Heaven forbid if the story had been told with the peasant stories. I don't think that even if a celebrity was kidnapped, I don't think it would make the breaking news. Like, it wouldn't like warn you on other channels that breaking news had happened. I feel like it might crop up on your phone or something, but I don't think it'd be telling you to change the channel over just because Josh Hutcherson's been kidnapped. Oh my god. So basically Paige realises that it was this Josh Hutcherson guy who her friend is obsessed with who's been kidnapped, and she realises, holy shit, I'm gonna have to comfort the hell out of my friend when she gets back because she's gonna be devastated by this. Because Paige is an idiot and doesn't realise what has happened. Basically, the next day Paige shows up at her friend Jenny's house with loads of ice cream and is ready to kind of mourn, you know, comfort her through this difficult time of her favourite celebrity being kidnapped. And there's a conversation that follows. Jenny's other friends, Ray and Ingrid, are there. They have a conversation and they're saying things like, should we tell her or should we not tell her, kind of thing. And she's like, and Paige goes, is this because of that Josh fella disappearing? Because that's why I brought the choo-choo. We can get through it together. Choo-choo being caramel choo-choo ice cream. And she glanced uneasily at the other two out of the corner of her eye, those two as well. Jenny's face twisted into a manic grin, a grin that made Paige step back. Jenny, this is about the kidnapping, right? Of course it is. Okay, then let's crack open the choo-choo and Kleenex and get sobbing. We're not gonna cry about it, Ray said. Why not? So it keeps going like that. And then her best friend points to the door and says, go see. Sorry about that, my battery died, so this is a new day, but we're going to keep plowing on anyway. So where were we? Okay, basically, Paige goes down to the basement and there's a whole kerfuffle, like, there's something down here. I know, isn't it great? Jenny's gleeful voice replied. Paige frowned and palmed the wall for the light switch. At first she thought the moving creature was a rat, but as her eyes continued to adjust, she realised it was much, much bigger. Jenny, it's massive, she yelled apprehensively. The size of a person at least. We know, Ingrid called excitedly. So I think you can guess what happened. These girls basically kidnapped Josh Hutcherson, and that's kind of how the chapter ends. The final paragraph of that chapter is, she was staring into the eyes of the guy who'd been all over the TV for nearly 2 weeks now, whose name had been plastered everywhere, whose girlfriend was back home, Claire or Katie or Claude, begging on the news for some news on where her boyfriend was, the guy who Paige had referred to as the Game of Hungry People guy. And the final that chapter ends with all capitals saying, Jenny, you kidnapped Josh Hutcherson, because, you know, we're all about the drama here on this Wattpad page. So, this is kidnapping, Paige shouted. You could go to jail for this. Jenny grabbed her shoulder and spun her around, a serious look in her eyes. "We'd only go to jail if you told on us," she said darkly. "You're not going to tell on us, are you?" But I just can't leave him here. Now that I know, I'll have to tell someone. You know me, I can't lie. What's the point in all this, Jen? Someone's going to find out sometime and you three are going to get in deep trouble. Jenny, this is too far, too far. Jenny looked down, having the decency to look guilty. "I'm sorry, I just didn't want to live without him." "You don't even know him," Paige yelled. Honestly, this kind of gives me vibes of when I was obsessed with him and my family would have to go, "You don't know him. He doesn't know you. Just relax a bit, okay?" It never worked. So there's a lot of yelling going on, and then Paige gets stuck in the basement because her friends think that she'll go to the police like a sane person and tell them that Josh Hutcherson is in her friend's basement. So now Paige is locked in the basement and she takes there's a scarf around Josh's mouth, so she takes that off. And he yells, "You girls are crazy," was the first thing out of the guy's mouth. "Excuse me, I had nothing to do with it," Paige snapped. "I didn't even know who you were until you were kidnapped. Jenny was the one who cried herself to sleep when you started dating frickin' Kathleen." "Who the hell is Kathleen?" Paige frowned. "Your girlfriend, duh," she replied. "It's Claudia, you freak," Josh snapped. So we're really getting into the whole Paige is not like everyone else. She didn't know who Josh was. She doesn't even know his girlfriend's name. She's just cooler than everyone else in this situation. And we're just... Basically, this is the attitude that I had when I was writing this. I thought if I was different, then I had a chance with the celebrity I was in love with, which is kind of ironic considering I was more like Jenny than I was Paige. So that just kind of proves that everyone who thinks that they're not like the other girls is pretty much like the other girls. If there's no more glaring example than that. "Okay, I understand you're upset," Paige said, holding her hand up, "but let's not resort to name calling, alright?" So basically, yes, I know you've been kidnapped, but like, can you like just stop yelling at me? It's not my fault. Fuck's sake. Okay, this is when it gets fucking ridiculous, alright? They go back and forth for a bit, and then we get to this bit. Pausing his escape attempts for a moment, Josh lifted his head. "You have an accent," he stated. Paige frowned. Yeah," she said. "I'm Irish. Got a problem?" "What is a pack of Irish girls doing in Kentucky?" he asked skeptically, because, you know, Irish people aren't allowed in Kentucky. There's a sign saying no Irish people in Kentucky. It's like a law or something. Paige raised her eyebrows. "Kentucky? Mate, you're in Northern Ireland," she said. "What did Jenny do to get you here? Drug you with a gallon of sleeping pills and sneak you in through baggage?" Looking suddenly mortified, Josh's mouth fell open. "I'm not in America right now," he asked slowly. Yeah?" 3 16-year-old girls, because Ray and Ingrid were there too, "managed to kidnap this man." 3 16-year-olds managed to kidnap this man and get him from Kentucky to Northern Ireland without being caught, okay? Without being stopped in the airport, without... Oh! I mean, Josh Hutcherson isn't the most buff man in the world, but I'm pretty sure he could resist the attempts of 3 16-year-old girls of average size trying to drag him into a van, because that's what happens. That's what happened. He got chloroformed and dragged into a van. And I don't think chloroform would keep him out long enough to get him from Kentucky to Northern Ireland into Jenny's basement. Again, without getting caught, alright? Without being stopped once. Realism, I don't know her. I mean, I know it's a fanfiction story and it's on Wattpad of all places. It's not exactly going to be the most realistic thing in the world, but oh my god. Oh my god, I didn't see a problem with this. I didn't see any holes anywhere, no plot holes. I thought that this was just excellent drama right here. The soap opera in the making that was I Kidnapped Josh Hutcherson. Oh, this is when it gets so stupid. Paige escapes and she's stabbing 999 on her phone. And it's like, as it rang, Paige's eyes fell upon a photo that hung up on the wall in its pretty gold frame. Two little girls sitting on a park bench, their faces covered in ice cream, one white, one pink, with wide beaming smiles. Oh my god. Their arms were linked together, their free hands clutching their ice creams. They both reeked of love and friendship and freedom and kindness. Brown braided bracelets with little star charms hung from their wrists. Friendship bracelets that they both made each other. As the phone continued to beep, Paige's eyes fell to the braided bracelet that was still around her wrist. She knew that Jenny still had hers as well. They had never taken them off since they were children, with the exception of when they showered. Heart thudding in panic. She couldn't put her best friend in jail. She'd never forgive her. 911, what's your emergency? Letting out a small gasp, Paige slammed the phone back onto the hook. She slapped her eyes over her mouth, tears gathering in her eyes. Oh god, what was she going to do? I'm sorry to my best friends, but if you kidnap someone and try to get me involved, try to implicate me, then no amount of braided bracelets or ice cream cone pictures is going to stop me calling the police, because no! I'm sorry, I'm not going to prison for you. I love you guys, but I'll visit when you're in jail. Okay, that's the best I can offer. I thought you'd be happy for me, Jenny said, stepping forward. I'm finally happy myself. All that ice cream, all the pain and the tears, and I'm finally happy. By committing a crime, Paige exclaimed. I never said to kidnap John freaking Hutcherson. It's actually Josh Hutcherson. Because I hammered it in there. Paige doesn't know about this shit. She is cooler than everyone else. She doesn't know who this man is, okay? She just doesn't get it. Well, pardon me, all to hell. That doesn't make it any better, Paige yelled. Well, go free him then. Let him blab, get me arrested. But just know, Paige, we won't be friends anymore. Bitch. Fuck, okay. Like, I don't care. Fuck you. You're trying to implicate me in a crime here to try and make me feel bad? We're not going to free him, Ingrid said sharply. Not when we've gotten this far. This far? This is too far. Can't any of you girls see this? Is this some kind of disease that only you fangirls have? You kidnapped a person, a human being with a life, and not just any person, and a damn celebrity. And if you haven't noticed, the entire world has been thrown into turmoil because Jacob Hartenson, Josh Hutcherson. I don't care. If you're caught, you're all going to jail. Okay, and we've reached the point, basically, where Jenny is going to justify her kidnapping here, so this will be fun. Then I have problems. Screw me, Jenny shouted. Everyone has problems. I'm sticking to my morals in this decision. I threw a bag over his head and dragged him to Ireland. Which makes no sense, but okay. Because I love him. We love him. If you don't like that, well, tough. Because we're not turning back. You can't stop me from telling someone, Paige said defiantly. Jenny snarled, curling her lip up angrily. Yes, we can, she said. Because you're not leaving this house ever again. And that's the end of chapter 2. So as you can tell, my writing was very extreme. I like to think it's gotten better. Sadly, the story did not get offered an after book deal. But you never know, maybe someday. Maybe I'll get that illicit email where someone will offer. They just love the realism of my I Kidnapped Josh Hutcherson story and they'll just offer me a book deal on the spot, but that is yet to happen. I know. Anyway, I could do a part 2 to this video where I read 2 more chapters if you want. Let me know down below if you'd like to see that, because it does get worse. Like, it gets much, much worse. Like, there's no, it gets worse before it gets better, it just gets worse. So, let me know if you want to see that down below. And I'll see you next time, guys. Look at my socials if you want. Check out my book if you want. Don't do any of that if you don't want to. Don't want you there if you don't want to be there. And remember, write whatever you want. But oh my god, it is okay to look back on it and realise how terrible it was. It makes you see how far you've grown, okay? So do that every once in a while, because I'm feeling really good about my writing right now, looking back on I Kidnapped Josh Hutcherson, okay? So if you need a little confidence boost, that's what you gotta do, okay? I'll see you next time, guys.